See, what I was just telling Deepak is the shortage of skills is a global issue, and it does impact all kinds of organization. And I don't think anyone has that luxury of having forced to deal with that. But it also depends upon the maturity of the industry and the maturity of the organization to deal with that, which would vary depending upon which kinds of businesses you have. Typically, digital businesses like financial services, retail, and other things would be in a much state of higher readiness because most of the businesses are already digital. And there are brick and mortar companies, say like healthcare, manufacturing, and others are at a much different level of readiness. But because of the rigidity of their businesses, they can't be completely on digital completely as well. So from our perspective, what we have done is we have a specialized team to deal with this, and we also work with outsourcing partners to help us on some of these machines where we can really deal with any kind of a skill shortage as we really deal with this. Because as an industry, particularly on healthcare, which is traced on multiple levels, I think budget is an issue, skill is an issue, training is an issue, and definitely the remote working had been practiced even before for a limited number of people, but because of the nature of the industry, you definitely need to be in an hospital to do it. So the opportunity for a remote working in a healthcare is limited to certain variety of people, not exactly to all and sundry. So I think the industry varies depending upon where you work with, particularly the kind of feedback that we just get from National Stock Exchange and others, that would be a very different scenario. Brick and mortar companies say like healthcare, we have a very opposite view of what we may try to do, and it is still evolving. It's quite challenging. Honestly, it's a thankless job to be always on the toes, really, look at where the threats are and deal with this. So it's not going to be easy. I don't think so. If you're running an hospital, which is very pretty mission critical, we do around 200 surgeries a day. You do around 2,000 patient visits almost every day on an ongoing basis. Plus, there is a telemedicine, which is now completely getting digital. I think there is a huge pressure on us for us to maintain business as usual. Some of the things that we did, at least from an IT perspective, is some smart working, where a lot of flexibility given to people to deal with some of this mess from wherever they are. I think that's really somewhat helped, but it is a threat that we need to really be on the toes. There had been one or two instances of fake calls nearly 3-4 years ago when the ransomware threat really came around. I think it was quite a nightmarish time of dealing with this for nearly a week, where we had to put in our mitigation measures, although we were not impacted, but the advisories were pretty strong. I think every threat, every advisory, makes us to do things much differently, but it is a thankless job. Yeah, let me be very specific to healthcare. Pandemic had really made our lives a lot more difficult. We had always had an emergency response, and hygiene has been one of our core issues. But almost whatever we knew had to completely change post-pandemic, but we are still dealing with the crisis as it really evolves. I think just like what we heard right now, there are a lot of regulations which keep changing. So there's a lot of education which keeps coming every day to deal with this. The good thing is we are yet to be impacted with any of these pandemic scenarios yet, although we are dealing with close to around 600, 700 patients every day. I think we are fairly in good shape, but I think it's every day is it's a crisis we need to deal with. So we have to be on a heightened state of attention to deal with the mess that is being created. Business continuity and risk are critical for our engagement.